Am I the asshole for being mad at my husband after he let our daughter shave her head? We have a certain tradition in my family. During the summer, all children in age 10 have their hair dyed, currently with a special dye that wears off after a few days. We dress in colorful clothes, decorate my grandparents' house, and celebrate for 3 days and 3 nights. There's cake, presents, various contests, and so on. It is a family tradition, not a matter of culture or country, and it comes from the time when one of my great-great-grandmother lost many children before they turned 10. Well, my daughter turns 10 this year. She is one of 3 children in this age. The celebration was scheduled for August Wirt. Everything was going well, she was very happy. And then I went on a business trip. When I came back, my daughter had a shaved head. Honestly, I was shocked, because during this time, I did not receive any information or even a photo. I asked my husband what happened. He said that he and our daughter were watching some cartoon together, and one of the characters had shaved her hair, so our daughter decided she wanted to shave hers too. And he agreed. That caused a lot of drama. We had a bit of an argument, and honestly at the time, I was more concerned that he'd allowed her shave her head on such a small impulse. But the next day, my mother came in and a conversation about tradition began. You know, how to dye hair that doesn't exist. My mother suggested a wig or just painting my daughter's head, but my daughter burst into tears because she realized she would be the only 10-year-old whose hair wouldn't be dyed. She also refuses to go to the celebration now because it won't be the same. And now she's mad and my husband is furious with me, thinking the whole tradition is stupid and that it's the tradition's fault that our daughter is upset. I, on the other hand, think he was irresponsible and he should have thought about what he was doing before he started shaving her head. Yes, my husband knows about the tradition. He's been there twice. Edit. Yes, my daughter is completely bald now. As for, what if one of the kids doesn't want to dye their hair? The answer is that my brother was that kid. So on the day of the celebration, he wore a rainbow wig and no one had a problem with it. The thing is, as I've already pointed out, my daughter doesn't want wigs or head paint. She wants dyed hair. Edit 2. I've noticed that many people in the comments have a strange view of this tradition, so I want to clarify something. No, we're not talking about dead children, nor is there a cemetery-like atmosphere. Although it began with many deaths, it is a celebration of life and joy. Something like a huge birthday. That's why everyone dresses colorfully. That's why we paint ourselves and decorate our houses. And that's why children get presents. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Was daughter excited to show you her bald head when she got home? It could be she wanted to, or it could be dad pressured her, or that something happened to the hair like gum candy caught on fire while you were gone, and your husband is covering up. Mobby talked to the salon that cut it. How your daughter acted initially is super important outside of the tradition. For the tradition, use face paint and get your daughter excited about what design will go on her head. OP. My husband shaved her hair at home. When I got home, it was early morning and my daughter had just woken up. I remember her coming to me, hugging me and saying, "Hi, Mom." It took me a moment to process what had happened. She didn't try to hide it, but there was no, Mom, look what happened." Then she went to the bathroom, and I started talking to my husband, as I wrote in the post. OP on her fight with her husband about their daughter's hair. OP, I fought with my husband because he didn't even tell me about it. No, it's not fun or cool when you come home after a week and hear, "Oh yeah, our 10-year-old daughter watched a cartoon and decided she didn't want to have hair, so we got rid of it at home." My mother and I were discussing ways my daughter could participate in the tradition. I don't know, maybe you missed it, but literally one example was head painting. A colorful wig was the other. Plus, it's funny to make it girls can't have autonomy when all 10-year-olds participate in the tradition. This year, there will be one boy. Last time, there were only boys. Commenter 2. Info. Did your husband realize it was her year for the dyed hair, or did he forget? OP. Yes, he knew. Before my trip, we were literally shopping for outfits for the occasion. Update. July 18th, 2025. Next day. So, a few things have happened since yesterday, and taking advantage of the fact that it's currently 11 a.m. in my country and I'm home alone, I'd like to share this with you. I guess I'll start by saying that many of you were right, even if you were wrong about the reasons. So 3 hours after I published my first post, my husband's sister came over to pick up my daughter. I decided to take the opportunity and ask her for help. figuring she was the perfect, neutral person. My husband wasn't happy and strongly opposed it, thinking it was unnecessary to still drag this out, but I asked his sister to talk to my daughter about what had happened anyway. She, my husband's sister, currently has a mohawk, so I asked her to simply start with the hairstyles and then get to how it all started. She agreed. They returned around 11 p.m. We waited until our daughter gone to bed, then we sat down in the kitchen and started talking. Well, my husband tried to end this conversation many times, but I finally learned this. The fact is that he and our daughter watched a cartoon where a character shaves her hair. The fact is that my daughter found it interesting. But that's where the daddy started encouraging us to do it and saying it would be great part comes in. My daughter told his sister how he convinced her that it would be more fun this way, and that this way she would be able to better play the character in their game. When my husband's sister left, we started arguing. I don't know if it's still obvious, but even as I write this, I'm still pissed. At first, my husband defended himself, trying to say that his sister was biased and that it was all lies, and that the idea was 100% our daughter's. But in the end, he told the truth. Yes, he convinced her to cut her hair. No, it wasn't just about stupid tradition. It's worse. You see, before the date of the celebration was set this year, August 1st, my husband wanted to go on a week-long vacation to Greece. They were supposed to start August 1st. So yes, my brilliant husband shaved our daughter's head to get back at me for taking away his vacation. He thought that this way we would avoid reuniting with my family, or at least I would feel what he felt. Yes, I too don't know whether to laugh or cry. It ended with me sleeping on the couch, him taking the bedroom, and going to work in the morning. Now our daughter is currently with my parents while I consider my next move. I don't want arguing again, but I'm certainly not going to leave it like that. Edit. Okay, I appreciate all the comments, and as I wrote, our daughter is currently staying with my parents. That said, when I took her to them, we talked. The good news is that we joked a bit about the fact that at least now we don't have to comb her hair. The atmosphere was better than in recent days. Together we found some positives in this whole situation, and using your advice, I also decided to assure her that she still looks wonderful and that nothing that happened was her fault or I'm not mad at her. Unfortunately, the bad news is that she is still sad. She said she still wanted to have her hair dyed and that she's already starting to miss plat-relevant comments. Commenter 1. Can you ever trust your husband alone with your daughter again? He used her to punish you. Think about that. Now she's upset because she was too young to, understand the results of shaving her head. Your husband is disgusting. OP. Oh, I'm definitely thinking about it. I'm going to pack up some of our daughter's things and take them to my parents' house. I won't let her be around him until this whole thing calms down. Commenter 2. What on earth? He was getting back at you? Has he behaved this way before? Will he do it again in my worry? How far would he go? I'm not sure what you can do about your daughter's hair. Is there a singer or actress she likes that wears wigs to change her hair? If so, maybe show her to encourage her to try. OP. You see, the strangest thing is that I can't recall a single situation where he was this extreme. Did we ever argue or disagree on something? Sure. But he never used our daughter against me or became like that. It usually went normal. A small argument, followed by an apology and a normal conversation. Literally, just a few days ago, I would have called him a good father and husband. Commenter 3. I'm still concerned about your 10-year-old, especially in a couple of months when she goes back to school. It's one thing to give a boy a buzz cut in the summer, but there aren't too many girls who have completely shaved heads, and I'm worried about what she might go through with her classmates, or even other adults who might treat her differently, thinking she might be recovering from cancer or a surgery. This is not just about doing something to upset you and ruin your vacation. This is something that your daughter has to live with until it grows out, which could be a year before it looks normal. OP. For now, I'm hoping the hair will grow enough before she come back to school. If not, I'll try to approach this as if nothing's happening and observe it and react accordingly. Commenter 4. Well, your next move is hiring a divorce lawyer, right? OP. Honestly, I have no idea. I know Reddit likes to talk about divorce, but I've been with this man for over 10 years, and this is the first time I've ever been in a situation like this. I literally can't remember anything as awful as this. Of course, our daughter will stay with my parents for now, but I plan to have a long talk with him. We might need to go to couples therapy. Maybe he'll learn from this on his own, and maybe this incident will actually lead to our divorce. The sheer pettiness of trading a kid's head for a Greek getaway. Yikes. I can't get over how the poor girl just wanted rainbow bright hair and got a shiny scalp instead. Dad's little revenge scheme totally backfired, and now he's sitting there in the doghouse while mom's juggling family traditions and divorce lawyers. Honestly, the silver lining is the kiddo, learning she's still gorgeous, wig, paint, or bald. Still, can you even imagine the family reunion when Grandma asks why the dye party's one head short? Ugh, drama for days. Alright, let's move on to the next post. I, 40 female, have been with my husband, 43 male, for several years. He has a daughter, 13 female, from a previous relationship. When we started dating and I was introduced to her, he made it very clear that she already had parents and didn't need another one. What she needed was an advocate and mentor. I was absolutely fine with that and have always tried to respect those boundaries. For the most part, our relationship is good. She's a great kid. Now, we also have a son together, 3 male. He's my first and only biological child, and I had wanted him for a very long time. Here's the issue. I had a very specific vision for my son's room that I'd planned well in advance. I painted the 2 ombre walls that go from grass green to sky blue and transition into a dusty blue ceiling covered in glow-in-the-dark stars. His ceiling light has a sun-shaped lampshade, and his night light is a moon. He has a Montessori-style floor bed designed to look like a tent, a grassy rug, a ball pit that looks like a pool, tree trunk-shaped toy chests that double as chairs and a table, and a tree-shaped bookshelf. I paid for all of this myself. When it came to my stepdaughter's room, we asked her what she wanted. She said she wanted a reading nook, so we created one with a small round mattress, a ton of cushions in her favorite colors, and a mosquito net canopy. She chose her wall colors, solid block shades, and we did the room together. We split the cost 50-50. The rest of the furniture in her room was purchased by my husband before I came into the picture, and he doesn't see any point in replacing it since it's still in good condition. As a result, I didn't have much say in that space. Recently, after seeing my son's room fully set up, my stepdaughter got upset. She said I clearly put way more effort into his space than hers, and accused me of playing favorites because he's actually mine. I tried to explain that I didn't want to overstep when it came to her room, and that she made most of the choices herself. But now she feels hurt and like I don't care as much about her. I do feel guilty because I can see how, from her perspective, it looks unfair. But I also don't know how to navigate doing more without violating the boundaries my husband and I set early on. I'm not her parent, and I didn't want to push decisions onto her room. At the same time, I now wonder if I should have tried harder or been more involved. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Verdict, not the asshole. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, YTA for splitting the cost with a 13 years old. OP, I split 50-50 with my husband. She's a bit young yet for an income of her own. Commenter 2, info. Why did you have to pay for 75% of the room decor and your husband paid for only 25%? Especially considering that your husband was the father of both children while you were only mother. OP, I chose to foot the bill for my boys' room because I earn a bit more than my husband and my play money is more. I also chose every element in his room, so I paid what I was comfortable with. The concept was that it stayed as a campsite, but as his interests changed, the elements would change, so if he liked dinosaurs, it'd become a paleontology camp. I paid 50% because I wanted the cushions to be nicer, good quality cushions that were comfortable and squishy. Her dad isn't great at girls' stuff and is used to being very frugal because of only having one income. I at least got to go through Pinterest with her and decide what kind of nook she wanted. I'm also just the type of person who will get an idea and immediately act on it. Waiting for 50% of the funds just seemed tedious when I have the means to just do it. Commenter 3. Dad is the one who said the furniture didn't need to be updated. You need to talk to him about this and tell him exactly what she said. Your son's room sounds like a dream, just needs dinosaur toys out the pooper IMO, so I can totally understand her being this upset. Hopefully Dad will update her furniture or let you work your magic on your own. Then, IKEA date. We hope, poor kid. She should also have at least one dinosaur. OP. Dinosaurs were kind of the idea. If he likes dinosaurs, then it becomes a paleontology camp, or if he likes Pokemon, it becomes a Pokemon camp. The room can adapt to his interests. Commenter 4. Why did your husband not contribute to your son's room, but you had to go in on his daughter's room? OP. Downvoted. I chose to. It gave me full freedom without compromise, and I earn more than my husband, so I don't mind paying extra. It's how we keep things financially balanced. Here's an update that was made 3 days later, on July 20th, 2025. So, about 3 people asked for an update. So here's an update. To clarify, I paid for my son's room because I had a clear vision and didn't want to compromise. I would have done the same for my stepdaughter, but her room was more of a shared project. My husband is an amazing and super engaged dad. He just comes from a different mindset. Some people are savers, some are spenders. He's the former, I'm the latter, and honestly, it works for us. He's still getting used to the idea that we can spend money just to make life nicer. My stepdaughter ended up apologizing. She said coming back from her mom's, where she shares a room, and seeing her little brother's room made her feel left out. It feels like he always gets the cool stuff, and even his daycare is better equipped than hers was. He won't have to deal with bouncing between homes like she does. She knows it's not about love, and she adores her brother, but she gets a little jealous sometimes. She still likes her room, especially the nook, but wanted it to feel more hers. We picked out a pastel sunset mural, and we're adding a dance corner with a bar and mirrors, plus lights and drapes around her bed to cozy it up. She's really excited now. Relevant? Top comments commenter 2. Thanks for the update. I was a bit worried about your relationship with stepdaughter. Unfair about her blaming only you, but she apologized. Good. You sound amazing. I'm a little jealous with how you did your son's room, such creativity. Commenter 3. As a stepmom to girls, I totally get the can't-win scenario you're in. I'm glad she could see it for what it was, and you could work together to make her room what she loves. OP. She really is an awesome kid. Commenter 4. That's an awesome update. I was hoping more personal touches would be added to her room. Hopefully that'll really help. It sounds like your stepdaughter is a really good kid that she was able to apologize and recognize all that. It may be time to reevaluate your role in your stepdaughter's life. If your stepdaughter wants you to have a more involved role, it sounds like you should. I totally get how that little green-eyed monster sneaks in when someone else's space looks like a Pinterest dream. You just want your corner to feel special too. Sounds like OP really walked the tightrope between respecting boundaries and, hey kid, I love you and want to spoil you a bit. Huge props to the stepdaughter for actually talking it out and, yeah, owning up to the jealousy. 13 is rough, y'all. Honestly, the real MVP might be that adaptable campsite vibe. Future-proof bedrooms are genius. And hey, IKEA date for dance corner supplies? Sign me up, I'll grab the meatballs. All right, here's the next post. I, 28 female, am friends with this girl, let's call her June, also 28 female. In fact, my husband, 32 male, and I often hang out with June and her boyfriend, i.e., go on double dates, have weekend trips, etc. We've known each other for over 2 years. I would say that we 4 were pretty tight as a group, up until this weekend. My husband is an orthodontist. One of his patients is June's half-sister, Raya, 12 female. June often is the one accompanying Raya to her dental appointments. June is also a small-time online influencer. She's always recording and vlogging and stuff. Though my husband and I have made it clear to her that we're absolutely not okay with our faces in her vlogs online, and she seemed to respect that boundary. We don't use social media, apart from Reddit, and we trusted her word when she said she's not going to post us online. Cut to last weekend, my brother sent me this TikTok link with the message, "Dude, you gotta watch this." I opened the link and it directed me to June's TikTok account. She doesn't have many followers, less than 10K, but the particular video he sent me had like 500,000 views, likes, I'm not sure which. Lo and behold, it was a video compilation of my husband with the title, "God, I See What You've Done for Others." The video was honestly the creepiest thing I've ever seen. She had recorded my husband during various of our double dates together, and it was clear he wasn't even aware he was being recorded. In some of the clips, she would start with her face and then pan the camera toward my husband with a cutesy expression and mouthing words like, "Oh my God." The worst one was where he was working on her half-sister, Raya, wearing scrubs, and she'd recorded even that. She didn't even bother to blur out the kid's face while she was lying on the dental chair. I showed the video to my husband, and he was horrified. He said it made him so uncomfortable and violated knowing that someone had been secretly recording him. He was angry that she'd recorded him working on a patient. He texted her asking to take down the video and delete every video she has of him. First, she feigned ignorance. Then she said that she meant no harm and that it was all for online engagement, since, I quote, TikToks with hot guys go viral very fast, and that she'd gained a lot of followers after posting that. This was all so weird, but my husband and I got our families and friends to report the video, and thankfully, it's being taken down now. This pissed off June, and she sent me a long text saying how I was jealous of her online success and that I couldn't stand seeing her succeed, blah, blah, blah. I replied saying, "You're delusional and unhinged. You're not successful and you'll never be. Stay away from us, you creepy weirdo." Now she's all weepy and depressed and has been telling our common friends how mean I was to her. She's also been posting about mental health on her socials and about how mean some women are with their words LOL. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole has no consensus bot. OP was voted not the asshole. Here's an update that was made 2 days later. September 14, 2024. Update. I don't want to make another post for the same thing and I doubt I'm going to be updating again. My husband's practice reached out to Raya's parents and informed them about the situation via an email as they wanted everything documented, like I mentioned in the comments. The parents have responded. They are shocked and very, very apologetic. They have agreed to chaperone Raya on her appointments instead of June. They wanted to meet my husband personally to apologize, but he informed them that that won't be necessary. June's TikTok video is still in the process of being taken down. No new updates on that. I guess she contested the reports or something. I'm not entirely sure. My husband and I have blocked her. My brother is keeping an eye on her account, though, just in case she posts something else about us. We'll see what to do when it happens. We're going to be consulting a lawyer if she bothers us again in the future. My husband is kind of shaken up, upset, annoyed about this whole thing. He's taken some days off from work, and so have I. We'll plan a trip somewhere, maybe, to take his mind off of these things. Right now, I need to be there for him. I won't be posting anything for now. We haven't contacted her boyfriend yet. My husband is not in the right headspace right now, and I feel it'll be better if we focus on ourselves for the time being. We don't want the added headache of how the boyfriend will react if he's in on this or whatever. We'll inform him after some time. I know this is selfish, but I think it's for the best. Thank you all for the responses. Here's an update that was made almost 1 month later, October 11th, 2024. I genuinely hoped I wouldn't be updating this story again, but life had other plans. We thought the drama was done, but nope. We filled June's boyfriend in on everything, and he was shocked, hurt, and confused. Turns out June managed his social media, and he had no clue what she was posting. He thanked us, and we thought that was it. But then he asked to meet up, saying he needed to discuss something. To be honest, we were extremely hesitant to meet with him. We were so done with the drama and didn't want to get sucked back in. But he seemed genuinely concerned and willing to listen, so we agreed. At the meeting, he revealed he'd confronted June. She broke down, professed her love, and claimed her obsession with my husband was for social media clout. Apparently, his total package made for great content. When he asked to see her phone, she refused. So he checked her laptop and found hundreds of sneaky photos and videos of my husband. And, for laughs, she had pics of me looking my absolute worst. Mouth open while eating, weird faces, the works. I think I'm pretty good looking, but these photos were the opposite. It's like she wanted to prove a point about my husband's ugly wife. June's boyfriend dumped her. But honestly, we're even more freaked out now. The scale of her obsession is terrifying. Hundreds of photos and videos, that's not just a crush, that's fixation. The thought of her escalating to something more is keeping us up at night. As a small consolation, June's boyfriend made her delete the videos from her social media and laptop. But God knows how many more copies she has. Despite June not reaching out after all this went down, we're still on high alert. Her radio silence is kinda unnerving, and we're bracing ourselves for whatever might come next. Hopefully, it is in fact just for social media clout, not some weird baby reindeer type obsession with my husband. It's kinda unsettling how she was friends with me for over 2 years. We hung out often, we've gone on weekend trips with her and her boyfriend. We have so many mutual friends, and yet no one knew she's doing this behind our backs. Either I'm bad at reading people or she's very good at being sneaky and deceptive. I'm also mentally kicking myself for not realizing that someone was taking pictures of me. I feel my husband and I both need to be less dumb and more aware of our surroundings, lol. On a brighter note, Raya's parents are super thankful to my husband for still treating Raya after everything. That's it for now. Hopefully, this is really the end. I really didn't want to update this situation, but things have taken a seriously dark turn. When I posted about June's thing for my husband a month ago, I thought it was just some weird crush. Now, it's flat out terrifying. The day after my last post, my husband got a super creepy message from a random number. "You have got it all wrong. Please meet me. I'll make you understand." We freaked. Lawyers and cops are on it, trying to get a restraining order. Both our workplaces have ramped up security, and we've warned friends and family to keep an eye out. This whole thing is destroying my husband's mental health. He's anxious 24/7, wondering if he's being followed. He stopped going to work because the feeling of being watched is overwhelming. We're trying to prioritize his safety. And honestly, it's breaking my heart. The other night, he broke down in tears. I've never seen him cry before. It was shattering. He's been talking to a therapist online, trying to cope with the stress and anxiety. But even that's not easing his mind. He's consumed by fear for my safety, constantly worrying that June will harm me to get to him. We're covering our bases. Security cams, dash cams, the whole works. And I've scoured our home twice for any hidden devices. Thank God, all clear. If things get worse, we're prepared to up and move. Honestly, it's better to have a life in a different state than be dead here. It's heartbreaking to think about leaving our friends, family, and everything behind, but we'll do what it takes to stay safe. Some of the advice on here was really helpful, and I've done most of what was suggested. If anyone has any more insights, please share. I'm desperate at this point, to be honest. I've been sharing some updates on a pretty unsettling situation we've been dealing with. For those who haven't seen my previous posts, the short version is that my husband and I had a friend, June, who started acting super obsessively toward my husband. She secretly recorded him, posted weird videos of him online, and we eventually had to cut ties with her. So, after not hearing from June for 3 weeks, things took a really creepy turn on Friday. We hadn't heard a word from her, so we both got a little more relaxed about the whole situation. We went back to work and everything seemed fine, but turns out we were wrong. My husband went to the store after work to grab some groceries. He had no idea June was following him, but when he got to the parking lot, there she was. As soon as he saw her, he tried to get to his car as quickly as possible, but she was already closer and blocked the way to the door. He tried to walk away, but she stepped in front of him, begging him to talk to her. She kept saying it was just a harmless crush, and that she'd leave us alone if he'd just listen. She even said, "Please, talk to me." He didn't respond, and kept trying to walk away, but she wouldn't let him. She begged again and reached into her coat pocket. My husband heard a metallic sound and instantly thought she might be pulling out a weapon. In a split second, he grabbed her hand to stop her and pushed her away with force. She lost her balance and fell down, but he didn't stick around. He quickly jumped in his car and sped off as fast as he could. Thankfully, she didn't follow him. After getting away, my husband immediately contacted the police. They managed to get security footage from the parking lot, and it shows 2 people, a man and a woman, running towards the car. After a short while, the man pushes the woman down and quickly gets in the car, speeding off. The footage wasn't super clear, but it shows the general sequence of events. Of course, it's still not totally clear what she was planning or what she had on her, but the situation was extremely tense. We've been trying to get a restraining order against her, and hopefully this time we'll get it, but we're not entirely sure how things will unfold now. We're also moving to my parents' home country for a while, just to feel safer and take a step back from everything. It's going to be tough rebuilding our lives from scratch, but I guess that's what's in our destiny. So yeah, that's where we're at. This whole situation is terrifying, and we're just trying to keep our heads straight and stay safe. I'll keep you all posted if anything else happens, but for now, we're just trying to lay low and handle this as best as we can. Previous posts are on my account. It's been a while since I posted. A lot has happened since then, and honestly, I don't even know how to make sense of any of it anymore. For context, my 28 female friend June became obsessed with my husband, 32 male, secretly filmed him at home and work, and posted a viral TikTok. She had hundreds of photos and videos of him. It escalated with stalking, creepy messages, and a confrontation in a parking lot where my husband thought she was pulling a weapon. We involved the police, tried to get a restraining order, increased security, and nearly relocated. This was around 9 months back. We didn't end up relocating. Things eventually calmed down. June's parents actually came over and apologized. They told us she checked herself into a mental rehab facility. She's been diagnosed with some stuff. I'm not going to get into the details, but apparently she's doing better now. She even messaged us months later and apologized. It seemed genuine. We accepted it, but we've kept no contact, and she's respected that. She's still in therapy and being monitored from what I've heard. But yeah, that's not the part that messed me up. My husband and I are getting a divorce. After everything we went through, I really thought it would bring us closer. I stood by him when he was falling apart. I handled everything. I looked after him. I took care of things. I stayed calm when he couldn't. I thought we were solid. 2 months ago, he told me he wanted a divorce. Just like that. No fight, no lead up. I asked why, and he just shrugged and said he needed to move on. I asked if something had happened or if I had done something wrong, and he just stared at me like I was speaking another language, like he wasn't even interested in explaining. Looking back, he started changing around 5 or 6 months ago, like he couldn't be bothered to engage with me anymore. It wasn't sudden exactly, but it was steady. He stopped checking in, stopped talking unless it was about day-to-day stuff. And I kept thinking maybe it was the aftershock of everything we'd been through, that maybe he was just processing everything in his own way. But now I don't know. I honestly don't know what I was looking at. He went from crying and breaking down in my arms last year to being a dickhead a few months later. And I still don't understand what changed. And yeah, I've thought about whether there's someone else. There was this one time I saw him staring at the WhatsApp profile pic of one of the junior dentists at his clinic. He didn't know I was behind him. I asked what he was looking at, and he said her dog. She's absolutely gorgeous, super confident, bubbly, the kind of person who lights up a room. And they had this natural chemistry. I've seen it with my own eyes. Nothing I could really call out. Nothing inappropriate. But it was there. I didn't think much of it at the time. I trusted him a lot. Maybe I was just stupid enough to believe he was actually looking at the dog and not the young, beautiful woman in the photo. Maybe stupid enough to think that my husband was different from the other men who cheated on their wives. Maybe it's a coincidence that she broke up with her longtime boyfriend at the same time. Or maybe it's nothing. Maybe I just want there to be a reason, because honestly, the way he flipped on me out of nowhere doesn't make sense. I still don't get it. I feel like I'm missing something. He's already filed and moved out. We barely speak. He's like a stranger now, and I'm just trying to keep it together. I've been drinking more than I should. I know it's not the answer, but it's what I've been doing to get through the days. I'll sort myself out eventually. I just don't know when. That's where I'm at. I don't know if I'll update again. Thanks to the people who've been following this whole thing. Commenter 1. It may be because seeing you reminds him of the trauma he went through. For X, some couples whose child dies, ESP if it's a violent death, it doesn't bring them closer together. They end up getting divorced. OP. Maybe. I don't know, to be honest. I keep thinking about it. And the fact that he absolutely refused to talk about it and didn't give me any answers. Commenter 2. Sounds like he projected his trauma onto your relationship, and maybe even unconsciously blamed you for the stalking because she was your friend. That's not fair to you at all. I'm sorry things turned out this way for you. OP. I understand that. But if that's really the case, then there were better ways to handle it. I suggested therapy, couples counseling, literally everything I could think of, and he was adamant he didn't need any of it. He's had his own therapist this whole time, but I have no idea what's actually being talked about in there. I wasn't included, I wasn't even considered, so if something was going on with him, he chose not to let me in. Commenter 3. I remember this whole thing. I'm so sorry. You did so much right. Don't be surprised if he comes crawling back at some point. OP. A part of me still wants him to come back. But then I remember how I made his mental health my full-time job and he didn't even bother to tell me why he was leaving. So maybe it's better he stays gone. Commenter 4. Maybe I'm just a cynic, but I'm thinking the husband had a thing with June some time back. When he broke it off, June became obsessed. Now that June imploded, husband knows it's just a matter of time before the whole mess gets exposed. He's saving his ass and his practice by leaving. Now if it does come out, he will say it's his bitter ex and her friend getting revenge. OP. This angle is honestly disturbing to think about. If that's the truth, then everything I thought I knew about him was a lie. Commenter 5. I'm sorry. Try to find hobbies and work on yourself. It's easy to get stuck in the negatives when you are idle. OP. Yes, I have been hitting the gym and joined a pottery class. The days are fine. It's the nights where I get lonely and then the drinking starts LOL. We'll probably deal with that soon enough. Does OP and her husband have kids? OP. No kids, thankfully. Commenter 6. Top comment. I'm sorry you're having to deal with this, but it doesn't sound like you did anything wrong. If I had to guess, you saw him at his most vulnerable and he's now wanting to cut off any part of his life that made him feel powerless or weak. It's horrible and sad. June's sneaky TikToks turned from cringy to downright sinister, and honestly I'm still shaking my head that someone can collect hundreds of stealth pics without anyone noticing. OP did everything right. Lawyers, cops, security cameras, and it still kept escalating, which makes the divorce twist land even harder. Sometimes traumatic chaos burns a relationship instead of forging it stronger, and it looks like her husband just bailed instead of rebuilding. Whether it's plain avoidance, hidden guilt, or a shiny new crush, that exit was cold. I'm hoping OP sticks with the pottery and the gym, cuts down the late-night drinking, and maybe lets a good therapist help unpack all this. And hey, if the ex ever does crawl back, she'll have the clay skills to mold a nice nope sign. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So I'm 35 female and my fiancé is 39 male. He has a 14-year-old daughter. Me and my fiancé have been together for 5 years. His late wife died when his daughter was 5, and then I met him when his daughter was 9. His daughter never really liked me. I think maybe I came on too strong, or maybe she was happier the way things were before I came, I don't know. But I've always tried to her friend, but she would never let me in. So about 3 weeks ago, we told her I was pregnant. She wasn't happy, which is to be expected, she's a teen. The problem is, she's gone around accusing me of telling her that this baby will replace her, and basically trying to get rid of her to make room for my kid, and I haven't told her that at all. His daughter and her friend had faked some messages between me and her, and it basically said that I was gonna let the baby take her room, and that once the baby's here, her dad won't care about her anymore. She showed them to her dad, and he was mad we got into an argument and kicked me out. He sent me a long message saying that he couldn't do this anymore and that he didn't know I was treating his daughter like that and that we need to end things. He said I have a month to move my stuff out. A week after that, his daughter friend said that the messages were lies and that they were fake and that I never said those things. He then came over to my mom's house where I was staying, and he apologized and said that what kind of father wouldn't defend his daughter in that case, and that I have to understand why he did what he did. He also brought back my ring as I have given back to him, and he said that he wants to be a family again and that he wants to raise our child in our home and together and not apart. I told him I needed time to decide. As of right now, I don't want to. Because yes, I understand why you took her side, I understand why you kicked me out, but I don't understand why I couldn't even get a chance to talk or to show my proof or to even explain my side and got called degrading names. He just took her word and ran, and that what makes me not want to get back with him anymore. So Wibta. Edit. I don't want to make her out to be like this mean child because she's just been through a lot, and I hate that it's now me versus her. Top comments commenter 1. I think you need to fix way more than just this one incident. OP. The daughter's behavior and how far she was willing to go to frame you is concerning. She concocted a pretty elaborate lie with an accomplice to get you out of the house, and it wasn't her, it was the friend, who had a guilty conscience and confessed. How has your fiancé dealt with this? Until the situation with the daughter is addressed, I wouldn't go back. And Reddit jumps to suggesting therapy, but I really think everyone needs it. You need to think about what kind of situation you want to bring your child into. A house full of malice and stress, and you feeling unprotected. I can see why you don't want to go back. So don't. Not until you feel safe and secure and the 14-year-old is in a better frame of mind to accept you and a new sibling. Not the asshole. Commenter 2. Do not go back into that home. God knows what she'll do next. I don't believe the baby is safe there, let alone you. Commenter 3. Don't go back until his daughter goes to therapy and actively participates as to why she did this and other things. When the therapist says it's time for you and your ex-fiancé to join to come up with a plan going forward to be a family, you cannot go back until this is done. If you go back now, she will claim that you are hurting her or other false accusations that get you in legal trouble, She could CPS involved and you could lose custody of your baby. This is very serious. She has already demonstrated that she is willing to lie and make up stories. She may up the ante since she's not getting her way. You also need therapy to decide if you want to proceed forward with your relationship. He broke the fundamental trust required for a relationship to be successful. He handled this very immaturely and didn't hesitate to kick you to the curb without even asking you if it was true or why you say such things. This does not bode well for the future. He's supposed to make you feel safe and protected. He did not. Commenter 4. I wouldn't go back, especially not now. You don't need to be in an unstable environment while pregnant or with a newborn. His daughter committed to her lie hard, and I wouldn't be able to live with someone like that. She's a kid, and she needs a lot of help before I'd ever stake my stability and babies and well-being on her not doing this again and addressing her issues. I get that your fiancé needed to back up his daughter, but I'm troubled that he thinks he could do what he did, say a few words, and then you should come back to him because the family needs to be together. You weren't a family, and both of them showed you that. The very least he should have done was look at your phone. For now, I'd focus on my pregnancy and what a co-parenting relationship will look like while they sort themselves out. YWBTAH to yourself if you went back with the way things are now. Here's an update that was made 7 months later on July 20th, 2025. So a few of people had asked for an update on this. I had forgot about this account, to be honest, but I'm back, so I'll give you an update. So I had went back for like a month. He had made her apologize and everything. But I still had that feeling of, I guess, betrayal and like just bitterness towards him. It's hard to describe. So I sat down and had a talk with him and tried to explain it. And he asked if there was any way we could work on it. And I told him maybe in the future, like 2, maybe 3 years from now. But to now hold his breath as I would like to focus on my pregnancy and then the baby. We also discussed custody. And I asked him if for the first 3 years could the baby stay with me full time, as I don't trust his daughter to be without kid full time, and he agreed as we both want to keep everything out of court unless needed. Also, for anyone who might ask, yes, I've had my baby, and since she's still new, we haven't let his daughter meet her yet, as she's been going to camps. But if y'all want an update when she does, I will try to give one. Top comments commenter. 1. Have there been any tangible consequences for his daughter? Commenter 2. Right? This teenager caused so many problems with her lies, and she gets to go to camps? I would be sending her to intensive therapy and make her work throughout the summer. There should be punishment, or she will think she can pull this kind of crap again in the future. Commenter 3. The same thing I said in the first post. Yes, he had the right to take sides for his daughter, but that does not include kicking you out without explanation, insulting you and mistreating you. You should not go back to him. That girl is never going to leave you alone or accept you, and she is going to grow up hating you. Family experience. Believe me when I tell you that you don't want that life. Postscript. How incredible that that girl has ruined a marriage, at least partially for the moment. And her only consequence was saying, I'm sorry, to what a great point of narcissism and bad parenting we have reached, that making a person see that they were wrong is all the punishment they are going to receive. I'm sorry, but no, that is not a punishment or corrective. It is a natural cause, consequence, and does not serve to teach any lesson. Believe me, you don't want that life. X2. Commenter 4. So the daughter faces no consequences for her actions? If the friend never said anything, she would have gotten away with it honestly. You'd have zero self-respect if you went back. Commenter 5. Sounds like the daughter needs a lot of therapy. Spreading a dangerous lie like she did to get you out. Bad form from your partner to kick you out whilst pregnant and not even listen to you. He needs therapy too. Him and his daughter went through a lot, but as she was 5 at the time of her mother's death, and I imagine her dad didn't help her grieve and move on. She may not have many memories of her mother, but it's time alone with dad before meeting you that has shaped her life, but not in a positive way if this is how she's now behaving. It's sad to think of the happy family you could have been, and how she wasn't looking forward to having a baby sister to cherish. You made the correct choice to protect yourself and your daughter from abuse by staying away. Phew, that's a heavy one, right? I mean, talk about layers of trust issues, all those fake texts, the instant blame game, and then a baby in the mix? Whew. You can really feel OP's hurt over getting tossed out without even a conversation. Honestly, that stings just reading it. And the daughter faking receipts? Yikes, that's some next-level sabotage for a 14-year-old. Dad's quick flip-flop after the truth came out feels like trying to slap a Band-Aid on a broken bone, if you ask me. Therapy all around sounds like the minimum here. Nobody's gonna thrive unless that mess gets untangled. Anyway, congrats to OP on the new little one, and fingers crossed the grown-ups step up before the kiddo's old enough to notice all this chaos. Okay, let's move on to the next post. I'm in the middle of an ongoing argument with my best friend. My 19 female best friend, 19 male, and I have been close for 3 years. I have quite a large social circle, but it has always been common knowledge that Matt is the person I am obviously fondest of. People know that, and it's no secret that we spend most of our time with each other. Things were absolutely fine until this week. I was invited on a 5-day camping trip with some of my course mates at college. We spent a lot of time together and wanted to celebrate the end of semester by saving up to go somewhere. For reference, Matt isn't part of this group because he does another major. So it didn't really come up in conversation before this point because he hardly knows these people, and it didn't seem like a big deal to me. The trip is scheduled for the start of August, and I told Matt at the start of this week that I was going. He went silent, and when I asked him what was the matter, he said that it was weird how I put that much money and time aside for people I've only known since September. I told him that's ridiculous because we spend a lot of time together as a group, and we're good friends. He still went on to say that we've never traveled together and he's got 2 years on them. Then he said it's like I'm a platonic cheater. I feel bad because my first instinct was to laugh a bit because honestly I didn't expect him to come out with that. But then he hung up the phone and wouldn't answer my texts. I don't know what to do about this because I can't find it in me to apologize. I'm not a cheater, and I feel like he's making me out to be the AH for having friends aside from him. To be honest, I think the reason we've never traveled alone is because it'd be a solo trip between 2 members of the opposite sex, and frankly, it'd feel like dating territory. It's just not appropriate, and I'd rather travel in a group. But Matt's friends aren't my friends, and my friends aren't his. It's not that I think he'd come on to me or anything, but I think that's the type of thing I'd rather reserve for a boyfriend. BTW, this will be my first traveling experience done with friends rather than family. So, am I the asshole for choosing to vacation with relatively new friends instead of my best friend of 3 years? Here's an update that was made the next day. Edit. I rang Matt today after reading the comments from the morning and asked if we could meet up to talk in person, because I'm not happy about the silent treatment. We argued on Wednesday night. He said he'll come over after his shift on Tuesday, so I'll update if we resolve. I'll probably only be doing one because I don't want to drag the situation, so he didn't apologize over the phone BTW. Here are some of OP's comments. Commenter 1. He seems to think you're his girlfriend or something. OP. People do often mistake us for a couple. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. You are allowed to have other close friendships and go on trips with whoever you want. Matt is acting possessive and framing your choice as betrayal, which is unfair and emotionally immature. It's okay for him to feel left out, but it's not okay to guilt you over it. You've done nothing wrong by saying yes to a fun opportunity with your college friends. If he values the friendship, he'll talk it out once he cools down. OP. Thank you. I'm trying to assure myself of that. But he has been a rock for me, so he's kind of got me thinking I have betrayed him in a way. Which sounds crazy, but I don't know. Commenter 3. Well, Matt is obviously into you and not telling you. OP. Paul's no commenter. 4. Girl, I think your friend likes you LMAO. Why else would someone come up with platonic cheater? Give me a break. OP. I thought it was because we're so close. Am I effing dense? Commenter. 5. NAH. I don't think Matt is into OP necessarily. Possible? Sure, but there's no indication of that in the post. And I wish people would stop suggesting that just because they're opposite-sex best friends. I have had plenty of jealous friends that weren't romantically interested in me, and I've been scared of being replaced in friendships before, when I was much younger. OP, maybe plan a day trip with Matt. Something that takes a few hours or so to get to so you can go there and back, without having to get a hotel room and all that rigmarole. Go to a city, see some sights, do something fun, eat good food, and have an honest talk about the jealousy. Reassure him you're not going to disappear or replace him, but you have separate lives, and that's a good thing. It means you'll always have new stories to share. OP. You know what a relief to hear you say that because I've had that same jealousy over girlfriends, and I'm completely straight, probably LOL, and so it's not outlandish that he just feels replaced in a platonic way. OP is voted not the asshole. Here's an update that was made 2 days later. Things are kind of resolved, but also up in the air emotionally. In short, Matt came over and it started off pretty heated because I was quite mad. I said he's completely overreacted, and it was really immature of him to ignore me for nearly a week. He didn't say much and had his head in his hands for a while, which made me go quiet. He kept saying, I know, I'm sorry, I feel stupid. So I just came out with it and asked if there was something he needed to tell me because I want to know. At this point, I was crying, lol, a little riled up to say the least. So he hugged me and said he loved me and he was irrational and jealous. Can't lie, I thought we were going to kiss, but we didn't IDK what's going on here, but you guys weren't crazy. We talked more about why the trip bothered him so much, and he kind of echoed what you guys theorized. He felt left behind and said out of all his friends, I'm the one he values the most and he'd love to do something like his first friend holiday with me. Neither of us are that well off and have only been on a handful of trips with family when younger. I can't lie. I was very nervous, very emotional, didn't want to push it by asking explicitly if he had a crush on me, but I do acknowledge that the way we act with each other is a little more than wholly platonic. Maybe it's just one of those loves where you'll always have that attachment, but it need not materialize into a romantic relationship. I don't know, I'm still confused. Anyway, I think he was a bit immature at best. You could argue slightly possessive at worst. He said that when he said platonic cheater, it was ironic, which explains the theatrical wording LMAO. But the jealousy was obs real. We laughed about it a bit, did a blunt LOL. I think we're okay. I mean, I'd love to hear your takes. I know some will say I'm in denial, haha. Honestly, Matt's platonic cheater line cracked me up, but it really shows how tangled feelings can get when best friend boundaries blur. I get where he's coming from. Watching your closest pal jet off without you can spark all kinds of insecurity. Yet the silent treatment move? Total facepalm. OP handled it with patience, but wow, they both need clearer communication before another big trip rolls around. I'm curious whether this turns into a slow burn romance or just cements an even stronger friendship. Either way, fingers crossed they sort those feelings out before the camping countdown hits 0. Alright, let's move on to the next post. I, 25 female, have been engaged to my fiancé, 27 male, for just over 2 years, and we dated for nearly 3 years before he proposed. We set a wedding date back when we got engaged, but postponed it because my family was going through a rough patch and it didn't feel right at the time. We are now aiming for April 2025, venue is booked and everything. However, my mom despises my fiancé. She says that he has warning signs of an emotional abuser, he is selfish, and wants to keep me to himself, and that he is going to turn me into a helpless housewife to just pop out babies for his southern racist family. For clarification, I am a kindergarten teacher, currently pursuing my master's degree, and have exactly 0 plans to have kids in the next 5 years, which he agrees with. He is an electrical engineer, also pursuing a master's degree, and does not agree with his family's conservative beliefs. She lives across the country and recently came to visit for a month. It ended badly. I mean screaming fights, storming out of the house and crying until 2 a.m., all of which culminated in me driving her to the airport 2 weeks early. She swears she will never step foot back in the state for any reason, and she refuses to be in a room with my fiancé or his family ever. Well, while she was here, I didn't get a chance to tell her that we are planning to go through with the wedding, things are booked, etc. I fully intended to, but with all the fighting and turmoil, I didn't have a chance. Now, my fiancé and his family are asking questions about where we're at in the wedding planning process, and I'm really torn about how to answer. On the one hand, we could reschedule the entire thing, and I could work with my mom to get her to agree to come. On the other hand, we could go through with the wedding, but I would have exactly 0 family members present. I desperately want my mom to be there, but I don't know if she'll ever come to terms with my fiancé's existence and importance in my life. And I'm not sure I want to keep postponing the wedding because she's not ready for me to get married yet. So would I be the asshole if I do go through with it? Extra. My mom does have a TBI, which affects her emotional regulation. She has had the TBI since before I started dating my fiancé, so he never met her beforehand. Despite the brain injury, she swears that she is being perfectly reasonable, and that as an older woman who has dated a lot more than I have, just the one, and has known abusive men, that I should trust her implicitly, and leave him. Info. Everyone has been asking, so here are some of the warning signs that she says are emotionally abusive. He wouldn't leave me alone with her while she was here visiting. She is referring to the fact that while we would talk in the evenings, he was always in the room, because we talked in the living room of the small house where we live. Never mind that he literally stayed out of the house for 2 days so we could hang out together, just my mom and I. He does not encourage a strong bond between my mom and me. She means that he has not pushed me to go visit my mom and brother across the country even when they needed help. My reasoning is that I don't actually want to go across the country very often, so even when he asks me if I want to, the answer is usually no. He is gay and using me as a beard. She is referring to the fact that years ago, before we even started dating, I made an offhand comment about how people thought that the new server might be gay. We worked in a restaurant with lots of liberal college kids, and straight people were the minority, so we kind of assumed everyone was LGBTQ+ unless told otherwise. I was obviously wrong, as we have been together for 5 years with no issues in the bedroom and many conversations about the facets of sexuality. He encourages me to lie to her. I lied about going on a trip to Puerto Rico, entirely by my own choice, and despite multiple warnings by him and my best friend that it would end poorly. It did end poorly, and she does not trust me anymore, which is a separate issue. But again, my choice to lie. He actively told me it was a bad idea, and I didn't listen. Some of OP's comments. Commenter, not the asshole. Have your wedding. It's your mother's choice whether to come or not, if you decide to invite her. Don't do it if you think she'll cause a scene. And you have no other family members at all to invite? What about friends? As long as there, will be people there to support you. Have your wedding and enjoy it. If you can encourage your mother to see a neurologist, do so, and try to speak to them before the appointment to tell them how she has been behaving. OP, my family broke apart almost 10 years ago when my grandma died, and all I have left are my mom and younger brother. My side of the aisle would just be my best friend, a few close friends, and some friends from work. Unfortunately, she lives in a city with subpar medical care, especially when she has state disability insurance, which covers virtually nothing. To another question about her family, my biological father was abusive, and when he lost parental rights, I lost my paternal family because they were all on his side. My maternal family exploded almost 10 years ago when my grandma died. My aunts and uncle turned on my mom, my cousins sided with their parents, and my mom wrote them all off for good. It's just been my mom, my brother, and me for most of our lives, but there is literally no one else who shares a blood relation with us that we still talk to. OP explains, I usually would agree with you about people not saying someone is abusive just because. However, my mom has been abused by many men over the years, one of whom was my biological father. It's one of those situations where I can't tell if she's saying it because she's seen it firsthand and recognizes the signs, or if she's saying it because she's seen it so many times and now sees it everywhere. Commenter, info. What was the fight about? Was it between your mom and your fiancé, or your mom and your fiancé's family? If the latter, I'd be interested to hear what stance your fiancé took on the situation. If they were being bigoted, and your fiancé didn't stand up for his beliefs and instead let her take the brunt of it, that is certainly a red flag. OP. It was a fight between my mom and my fiancé, because she asked him what he would do if his mom had been beaten, robbed, and made homeless. Which is what happened to her a few years ago, post-TBI. She is no longer homeless, obviously. He responded that his mom had asked to be put in a home if she couldn't take care of herself. He meant it innocently enough, but she has a deep-rooted fear of mental health facilities and homes for disabled people, so it sparked terror in her. She was furious with me for not defending her against my fiancé because he was abusing her and triggering PTSD of when her father used to physically abuse her and her mom didn't defend her. Commenter, what do others in your life say about your fiancé? OP, literally, no one else has any concerns about him. My best friend actually lived with us for 3 years while we were dating and then engaged, and she only ever has good things to say about him. I've known her since middle school. I know her family well, and I fully trust her to tell me if I'm being an idiot or need to dump his ass. Plus, her parents are very rational and haven't raised any red flags, even going so far as to invite me and my fiancé to their beach house for a week and a half. None of my co-workers, who have all met him repeatedly, have any concerns. It's just my mom and brother, who have actually only been in his presence for less than 2 months total. Commenter, downvoted. Sorry, but OP doesn't come off sounding like a good person. OP. If you want to cut off your family, spare them the suspense and just do it. OP. I completely get where you're coming from, and I agree that it does make me look bad. The instances I was referring to were times that my mom called me in the middle of the night because of a crisis, expected me to drop everything, and be at her side to solve the problem. Emotionally, I understand where she was coming from because she needed help and wasn't able to do it herself. Logically, however, it simply isn't always possible. I am a teacher of small children, with the pay of a small child, and I can't simply fly across the country every time something goes wrong. It is a logistical nightmare for teachers to get time off for even regular things, like doctor's appointments, so I can't just up and leave for unknown lengths of time. I am always supportive over the phone, and I coordinate with my brother to make sure she gets help. I do my best from where I am, and I'm not saying I've made all the right choices. But I do resist the idea that I am at my mom's beck and call for every crisis, just because she decided to move across the country to a place with no support system. OP's post was voted as not enough info, but further comments were not the asshole. Here's an update that was made on November 18th, 2024, 3.5 weeks later. A little background. We have had Life 360 on our phones for years, since my mom was a single mom, and my brother and I got home from school before she did. It's never been a problem, because she checks it, for peace of mind, knowing where her kids are. Now, she lives across the country with my brother, and I am in a different state. She has a brain injury and still looks at my location a lot since I'm not great at answering texts all the time. My mom is in her 50s, I am 25, my brother is 23. Last Christmas, I turned off my Life 360 because I was going on a trip to Puerto Rico that I knew she wouldn't approve of. I lied about it when my brother asked why it was turned off. My mom caught me in the lie, and it blew up our relationship pretty badly because she felt like she couldn't trust me. I am well aware that I was the asshole in that part of the situation. I shouldn't have turned it off, and I definitely shouldn't have lied. However, nearly a year has passed, our relationship is still very rocky, and recently we are on the outs about my upcoming marriage. She doesn't approve and doesn't want it to happen, but I'm still doing it. She has started using my location against me, calling and starting fights whenever I spend time with my soon-to-be in-laws, asking why I'm leaving the house in the evenings, or what my plans are on the weekend that require me to drive an hour away from home. About 2 weeks ago, she and my brother turned off their locations and told me they were going to walk into the desert and unaliving themselves. I panicked, called the cops, and it turns out it was all a cry for help. They were sitting at home, totally fine. Well, I turned off my location out of anger and frustration. The thinking was, if they were going to turn theirs off to lie to me, then they didn't need to know my every move anymore. My brother texted me a couple days ago, asking me to please turn my location back on so they can know when I'm home. I am reluctant, because I am still angry and hurt by their words and actions, and it has honestly been pretty freeing to know that my mom can't sabotage my days out by calling and starting fights when I leave the house. I know that she does look at my location for peace of mind. Remember, brain injury, very emotional, very anxious. I also feel that at 25 in a different state, I should have a certain level of privacy from my mom. She does not need to know my every move. But I did turn it off once before, and that ended up causing a huge pile of mistrust and lies, and I don't want to do that again either. So would I be the asshole if I keep it turned off? Or should I do what they want and turn it back on? OP is voted not the asshole. Here's an update that was made on July 22nd, 2025. 9 months after the original post, I am so grateful to the people who took time to comment. I read them all, and I received a lot of messages from people with advice and kind words. So, an update. We got married. A lot of y'all told me to go through with it, and after a lot of thought, we did. When my mom left in October, we were in a bad place, and we were having a lot of really awful phone calls and screaming fights. I was desperate to do something, and I finally found a therapist who helped me process some of the things that happened between my mom and me and my role in things. In the months leading up to the wedding, my mom continued to scream at me over the phone and make threats about choosing him or her, and how she hoped I wasn't the kind of girl who got rid of her family to please a man who would end up leaving her anyway. She was downright hateful, and I spent a lot of time crying over our relationship because I couldn't believe we had gotten to this point. Even with knowing that some of her dysregulation was because of the brain injury, I just couldn't believe my own mom would threaten me, call me a cunt, and tell me that I wasn't allowed to be upset with her because she had been traumatized her whole life. We got married in April, and my mom and brother did not attend. I was able to reconnect with my mom's cousin, who I used to be close with as a child, and she and her family came to the wedding. I had my best friend, her family, and my work family there to support me. A close friend performed the ceremony. Plus, of course, my husband's family was very supportive. There were times I missed my mom, and I wanted to see her smile in the audience, but I was ultimately glad that she wasn't there. I would have felt like I had to perform and cater to her every whim, and I'm so glad I was able to just have a lovely day with all the people who came to celebrate with us. Just to reaffirm my feelings about her not being there, my mom did not contact me at all on the day of and only called me a week later to ask whether I would be sharing any pictures with her. I did send her a few, because I thought a small part of her might care, but all she did was comment on how it looked like a cheap Amazon wedding. She hoped I was happy with my shitty choices, and that they were worth the loss of my family. I miss her constantly, despite all our issues. But I haven't cut her off completely. We've been having a hard time communicating at all right now, and I don't know if it will ever get better. But I am happily married, and I don't regret it. Thanks for reading this far. And I appreciate all the kindness and honesty I got from my original post. Some of OP's comments. To a longer comment. This is amazing to hear, thank you. We strongly suspect that my mother has borderline personality disorder in addition to the TBI, based on some things she did and the way she acted prior to the accident. It hurts so badly to have no mom and no brother when I was so close to them my whole life. I'm glad your wife has built a beautiful life, and I am hoping that I can do the same to a deleted comment. I'm sorry you see this on the horizon for you. I wouldn't wish this stress on anyone. I can tell you that one of the best lessons I've learned is that I have a right to privacy, a right to set boundaries, and a right to maintain them. In my context, that means that my mom doesn't need to have my location at all times. I am allowed to tell her that I only have 30 minutes, for example, to talk, and I am allowed to hang up the phone when that time limit is reached. I will always love my mom, but I don't have to let her control me. It's taken me a long time, close to 6 years, to figure these things out with the help of friends, a supportive partner, and more recently, a licensed therapist. Send me a DM if you're ever in a low spot because it is so hard to battle it alone when no one else in your life has been through something similar. I will make it. You will make it. It will be better on the other side. Sending you good thoughts. Editor's note. I included these comments because they answer questions about OP's brother. They add more insight and context but aren't necessary to read to have the story make sense. All comments were upvoted at the time of this posting. Commenter. What's the deal with your brother, OP? He didn't have a TBI also, did he? Why is he thinking your marriage is doomed? Not the asshole. OP. My brother moved to Arizona with my mom to be her support a few years ago, and ever since he has been slowly brainwashed by her. She spends most of their waking time together ranting about how I must hate them and how awful I am, and unfortunately, he believes her. I love my brother, but he has always been a mama's boy, and it makes it easier for her to influence him. He was only 19 when he moved out west with her, and has never truly lived on his own, out from under her thumb, so he has no idea how warped some of her thinking is. Although my relationship with my mom is fraught with anger and mistrust, I still hold a small kernel of hope that one day, my brother and I will be able to reconnect. I hope that he will heal from her influence, and will be able to forgive each other for the way things have happened. I don't know if it will actually work like that, but I miss him too much not to hope for it. Commenter. Why did he have to uproot his whole life to take care of mom and not have a real life, but you get to live? Normally dating and going on vacations? Did the brother take the decision to move, or was it forced on him? OP. It was a combination of things. At the time, she had just moved out of the house she was staying at in Arizona and was briefly homeless. I was in my senior year of college doing my student teaching, and my brother had just earned his GED and was working at a local restaurant. My brother already wasn't happy living with his girlfriend, so when we realized that mom needed more help, he had more flexibility to go. He wasn't planning to go to college at that time. He could transfer his kitchen job to a location out west, and he had always been her hiking child who liked looking at rocks and wandering the desert with her. I was 4 months away from graduating, in the process of completing all my student teaching requirements and getting ready to submit them all for graduation. Consideration. Technically, I tried to get my mom to move back to our home state, since that's where both her kids were and where the superior TBI medical care was. We live near a highly ranked hospital system. It made the most sense to bring her back here, and she adamantly refused. Sending him out there to help her was supposed to be temporary, but she got her hooks in him again, and he started to believe that he didn't deserve a life outside of caring for her. He started to believe that he owed her everything because she raised him. It was awful to watch, but literally within 2 weeks of moving out there, he stopped talking about how to bring her home, and instead switched to complaining about how I wasn't helping more from across the country. Commenter: what have you done to help support your brother? Does he get respite care? Vacations? Your life was built on his sacrifice. Every one of your boundaries are his problem. He deals with the fallout of your peace. I'm not against protecting yourself from your mom, but if you're doing it on his sacrifice without helping him, not your mom, but him, your and his problems might be about the two of you's issues and not about you and your mom. OP: unfortunately, my brother doesn't know what a boundary is any more than my mother does. I have tried offering him time off or additional support from care people, and he has called me hateful for it. He believes that he owes my mother everything and that he isn't allowed to want or have things for himself anymore. It wasn't always like this, but she got her hooks in him pretty quickly after he moved out west with her. We definitely have our own issues to work through, but I am willing to do so as long as he is dealing with his own feelings and not just parroting hers. I've answered some other questions about him in other comments, but the fact is, I haven't been a great big sister, and I would love to repair our relationship a little. We've made small steps in the right directions over the years, and then we backtrack again. I just don't know how to really fix anything between us when she undoes any progress that we make as soon as he's off the phone or alone in a room with her. Commenter: YTA, to your brother. You feel exhausted after talking with your mother once a week. Your brother has to live with her. Why didn't you move closer to get so that you can help with care? Do you think it is okay leaving your brother trapped with her there with no way to escape? From what I understand, she can't take care of herself and does not have other relatives to rely on. So he is left with a choice of either staying trapped there or leave her on the street. He was robbed of his youth already, and he has no light at the end of the tunnel. If you don't do something to support him, he will resent you for the rest of his life. And by support, I mean physical presence, not just sending some money or calling once a week. OP: I completely agree with you. I have not been a good older sister. I mentioned in another comment that I never wanted him to move out there with her because I knew there was no support system there. But he is just as hateful as her at this point. I know a lot of it is rooted in anger and frustration and not true hate, but it still comes across as venomous. He hates me for learning how to set boundaries that he hasn't yet, and I've tried talking to him about how to maintain healthy space as much as possible with her, but she has him believing that he owes her his very existence. He has made special calls to me to say that Mom is very angry with me, and when she calls, I just need to sit there quietly and take it and not react to her vitriol, because that's what he has to suffer through all the time. And I hear him say that, and all I can think is, you have the same rights I do to not be called a cunt and an absor repeatedly. But he doesn't believe me. He believes what she tells him, which is that she sacrificed for many years to raise us as a single parent and we owe her an equal level of sacrifice. And I love him, but I am done sacrificing. I am nearly $25,000 in debt because of them, and I have no idea how long it is going to take me to crawl out of that financial hole on a teacher's salary, especially when I am also paying almost $800 per month in their bills. I can't afford to move out west and cut my salary even smaller, and that's if I could afford the plane ticket or the moving truck in the first place. I may be going low contact with my mother, but I will never stop trying to talk to my brother, even if he doesn't respond or acknowledge me for years. I don't hate either of them, because I know that for all the suffering and stress I've endured, they have endured the same or more. We are just a collection of shattered people, and I want to do my best not to break us anymore. I'm kinda amazed at how many twists and turns can happen between we booked a venue and my mom thinks I'm doomed. Boundaries, brain injuries, Life 360 meltdowns. It's like real-life soap opera levels of drama, but with teacher salaries and desert hiking thrown in. I'm glad OP snagged some therapy and still managed to celebrate love on her own terms, even if the price was missing relatives and a few savage Amazon wedding digs. Families are messy, and sometimes the best you can do is protect your peace. Hand out olive branches where it's safe and keep paying that therapist copay. Here's hoping the brother eventually dodges the mom toxicity tractor beam and finds his own balance. Anyway, thanks for sticking through the chaos with me. Feelings, fights, F-bomb adjacent insults and all. All right, here's the next post. I called my father this morning to see how they were all doing. Before he said good morning, he asked what the F is a dorm shower and why are my in-laws asking for money and gifts? Background. My husband, children, adult teens now, and I went no contact with my husband's entire immediate family and most extended relatives since 2016. That's 9+ years of not talking to, contacting, or having any type of relationship or interactions. We gave them over 20 years of chances and boundaries and consequences. That's to say, it wasn't a rash decision that was made selfishly or thoughtlessly. Through the years, they send us, in the actual USPS mail because they're blocked everywhere else, requests for gifts. You see, they like to create registries, like you would for a bridal or baby shower, and fill them with obscenely priced items for simple things like birthdays, Christmas, graduation, anniversaries, and every little I farted, and therefore I deserve an expensive gift event. On to last week into today, I called my husband's aunt to catch up. She's the only one we're still in contact with. And she gave me a heads up that my in-laws were trying to get her to pay, they used the term donate, over $100,000, not a typo, for the golden granddaughter's dorm fees because we're family and we need to stick together and do our part. When the lady who is living a modest life and on Social Security said absolutely not, they then sent her an invitation via text to the dorm shower, and husband's aunt said it was beyond ridiculous, not to mention the request for straight-up cash when she graduated. In the meanwhile, I'm getting texts and calls from old acquaintances and childhood friends. We all grew up in the same town and in-laws still live there, but we've moved about 4 HRs away, saying that my in-laws are harassing them and trying to get a hold of our information because we changed our cell numbers and blocked them everywhere we digitally could. Last week in the mail, I received an actual printed invite along with registry information. Not one place, but 3 separate stores, and because we were curious, my whole family found it comical, took a peek. The cheapest thing on there was a pack of washcloths in the $60 range, followed by a power strip at $120, and the prices went up from there, including items in the $2,000 range. They even had commercial-type appliances, which you can't even use in a dorm room. So why are they even on there? Then the phone calls started rolling in, which were sent to voicemail, from phone numbers we aren't familiar with. Emil ended up leaving a message. Husband's name. This is your mom. Niece's name. Is going away for college and we need you to contribute $100,000 for her dorm. We also sent you. Apparently the rest of us no longer exist. An invitation to her dorm shower and a picture from her graduation, which had requests for straight-up money without even hosting a party. Don't disappoint us because you owe it to your niece and sister. First of all, no to the effity no. Second, niece's parents make more than $500,000 a year. They both work for the state, love to brag, and their salaries are posted. Found that out from aunt. So, shouldn't they easily be able to afford their child's dorm necessities? Third, my husband and I have our own 2 children in university. One going into sophomore year and one going into junior year, and we never made any grand announcements, much less requests for money. They also chose to stay local in order to save money. Fourth, WTF. Are you trying to get money and gifts out of my parents and other elderly relatives? Aren't there laws against swindling senior citizens? My husband dropped everything into the shredder, and I erased the voicemail with full intent of remaining and maintaining no contact. In the last 2 hours, I've gotten 6 calls from numbers I don't know, but area codes that are from their area, with nobody leaving any messages. WTF? Just when you think you're out, they try and pull you back into their furry. So effing tired, and the nerve to do that. They didn't even bother asking about their biological grandchildren that they claim to love with all their hearts. Edit. I'm so sorry that I didn't explain it correctly. To be clear, it's 2 separate things. Request 1, $100,000 for dorm fees and boarding, so essentially rent and food. Request 2, dorm shower, registering for gifts at specific stores that people are expected to buy for you off of a list chosen by the graduate. Edit 2. How did mother-in-law get the number? We don't know. We did have a friend say that they gave out our address, which they had anyway. We have friends in my family that still live there. Our hometown that we both, me and husband, grew up in. Many people go to the same church weekly, and many of the in-laws attend. That's the most probable place. We still gave our new numbers to our friends and my family. Mael managed to get our new number, and nobody has confessed to giving it to her. I'm also getting a lot of calls from random numbers I don't know, and they're not leaving voicemails. That coincides with MIL calling. Mael, as of right now, has left a single message. Reverse directory on the other numbers doesn't give me information. Somehow, at the very least, MIL has gotten our number. We don't know if the other calls are related to MIL because they don't leave voicemails. But considering the uptick in calls and the message from MIL, we think it's related to each other. Thank you to all who read this novel-length post. The advice, laughs, and the recommendations for Google Voice. It's been already implemented. No further voicemails at this time. I will update if anything pops off. Too long didn't read. In-laws suck from top to bottom, inside and out, and all I want is for them to stop. Relevant comments commenter. 1. Wow, the sheer audacity. You, unfortunately, probably need to change your phone numbers again. I'm sorry. Update me, OP. I just keep blocking everything. We've changed our numbers at least twice. Me 3 times and husband twice, already. And they badger someone until they give it up. It feels like we need to go into witness protection, and even then I don't think we'd be safe. Thank you for reading and taking the time to respond. Commenter 2. Maybe it's time to talk to a lawyer to see what your options are legally speaking. Restraining order or a cease and desist letter, etc. OP. My husband doesn't want to do that because A, he's cheap. B, you can't do that to family. But all the crap they've done is okay? I'm exhausted by all of it. Commenter 2. Honestly, I'd be pretty pissed if my husband made those excuses. OP. I've known my husband since we were children. He was very much brainwashed by them, and I was too young and stupid to understand the lifetime implications of getting married to someone like that. What I tell my children and all their friends is to pay attention to what they do, what they don't do, and what they allow you to be exposed to. And you're right. I have spent a good portion of my marriage pissed at what others were bringing to my doorstep. Was OP's husband the favorite? And how were her kids treated in the family? OP, my husband, is not one of the favorites. My kids were treated like garbage. When they were little, we would host simple birthday parties. At home, homemade delicious food, a variety of pastries, and of course cake. We never registered for gifts, and we accepted whatever they bought over with grace. Amongst the gifts were used and stained clothes, and part of a set. So it would have a tag that said 3-piece set, and we would only be given the pants instead of the complete outfit. Not to mention the filthy, clearly used toys and water-stained books. They would come in through the front, and I would put everything into a garbage bag and place it in the garage because that's how bad it was. They would turn around a few months later and invite us to their birthday party, complete with registry. We're talking library-bound entire Dr. Seuss sets and outdoor wood playgrounds. They saw nothing wrong with what they were doing and no shame, like at all. What is OP's husband's take on this situation? OP. As of now, he wants to maintain no contact. Prior to the no contact, he was a diplomatic fence sitter, and it infuriated me because his silence was the equivalent of acceptance. I credit our children for somewhat dragging him out of the fog, but it's been a 2 steps forward, 1 step back deal, and there are cultural expectations and dysfunction that comes into play. Brainwashing would be the best way to describe it, and doing what they wanted was his easiest choice. These people are not normal or controllable, and they are a very large family. Mael has 6 siblings, FIL has 5. Each sibling had a minimum of 3 children, and one had 10, with 2 deaths in their middle age. Those children have gotten married and have children. When you oppose one, you become their enemy. So picture a non-stop barge of Bible thumping and telling you that you're all going to hell and cursing our family and children. Conversations don't work. We gave them over 20 years of chances. I refuse to fight, and I refuse to submit. Therefore, we ignore. It's been over 9 years. I trust but verify everything, and haven't seen anything of concern. I simply hate the noise they create in my life that I don't want and isn't necessary. My husband doesn't like talking about them and said, WTF are they doing? Why are they going to my parents? After we had our fun with the registry information, he popped everything into the shredder. It's not easy, and I understand that. So I give him the grace to allow him to change. We've been married over 30 years. I think I answered your question. Commenter 3. And how is letting you be subjected to harassment somehow not him imploding your marriage? Because you sound like you're at your wit's end with these people and he refuses to take steps. A cease and desist letter might work. No need to even go to court. But your husband prefers to bury his head in the sand and let you be harassed. OP. You're not wrong, but there's more to the story that doesn't make anything easy. But I'm not naive, and there's a plan in place if things go south. He's trying, and I'm giving him grace to change and learn, but I'm not stupid, and my patience isn't infinite. OP provides some context and an example of her in-laws' entitlement. OP. My in-laws didn't approve of our marriage. They didn't want us to succeed. They thought that without them and their help and influence, we would be nothing. We proved them wrong. If we had anything or were successful in any capacity, they couldn't stand it. Example. We bought our first condo. They felt entitled and wanted keys so they could come and go as they pleased. I said no. They waited till we were at work and tried getting in using a locksmith. They claimed to be the owners and look, their name is on the buzzer, and they hadn't had time to change their driver's license. The locksmith went to the manager's office because they often have spare keys, and because I had been in and out of the manager's office getting approvals for our renovations. They knew right away that they weren't the owners and called the police. Police showed up and were talking to the manager. We pulled up to see my in-laws standing next to the cop car, along with another officer. They explained what happened. We reaffirmed that they had no rights to enter. They asked us if we wanted to press charges. Husband said no, but I begged the officer to scare the crap out of them, and he kindly did. This is not even the worst of it. So, their logic is to constantly take everything that they can take, so we get overrun with debt while they keep progressing and achieving. Thus, proving to everyone that we were losers, and they projected it. Why do they try? Because they can and think eventually they're going to be successful. Here's an update that was made 8 days later on July 22nd, 2025. Update and gossip. We are maintaining no contact, no gifts or donations of $100,000. Because what they ultimately want is a reaction or contact. We refuse to fight, and we refuse to submit, therefore we ignore. Our silence is a clear message that they don't hold any value in our lives, and that drives them absolutely crazy. Google Voice has been set up and everything else is being blocked on the landline if they don't leave a message or aren't part of our contacts. Mael at this point has left a single message, but we've received at least 50 calls, last time I counted, from numbers that we don't know, but we suspect are MIL's flying monkeys. I still don't understand why they're asking for $100,000 for dorm rent and food, because anyway, I look at it, the math ain't mathing. I spoke to my cousin, a lawyer not in my area, and gave her all the information and asked her if anything could be done. She reached out to a retired colleague who used to practice and now teaches, and they basically said to continue to ignore because legally, not much can be done. Annoying, but it is what it is. Now onto the gossip. My dad and uncles are part of the church board and have been for decades. They, the board, secretary, and clergy, get together every Monday and review the week ahead, deal with issues, and approve or reject anything that needs to be dealt with. Pretty standard stuff. The in-laws attend the church but aren't really active in terms of committees, fundraising, and activities planning. MIL has volunteered once at a bake sale in the 40-plus years of living in the community and attending this church. The church has a huge banquet room that includes a stage, bar area, and fountain. It's used for church functions, plays, bazaars, dinner dances, parties, and can be rented out for a fee. Everyone pays some sort of fee. The fee has a complete breakdown of everything. There are two prices. One for stewards, members that pay a yearly membership to the church, and one for non-stewards, non-members or anyone else who would like to rent the space. If you're a member, then you get the rentals at cost, so the church doesn't really make anything extra on the rental. If you're not a member, then there's an upcharge for using the space. The board reviews it, and if they have questions, they make follow-up calls. The secretary had MIL on speakerphone so that everyone could listen and ask questions if needed. They aren't current stewards. Last time they were stewards was when their kids were little. No judgment, just explaining. They used their steward number from decades ago and played stupid when the secretary said that they need to be current stewards in order to get the discount. They know this because they tried to pull the same crap for SIL's big bridal shower, she had a total of 5, as well as the christenings of her children. The church has to pull a variety of permits depending on what type of party you're having, insurance, plus security, liquor permits, custodians, and a few other things I'm sure I'm forgetting. There's a pre-approved list of vendors that you need to choose from if you want to serve food or liquor, and they set their own prices separately from the church. If you want to rent the space, those are the rules and have been for over 30 years. If you follow the rules, then it's pretty seamless, and I've used them plenty of times throughout the years without any issues. Mill then tried to negotiate the price because they have volunteered so much throughout the years. Once, you volunteered once. Then she tries to say that they're going to bring in their own food and liquor. Church said you have to use the pre-approved vendors or you can't serve food or beverages. Then MIL pivots and wants to charge a fee to enter and have a cash bar, so she can use the space and, knowing her, upcharge to make a profit. The church explains that there would be additional paperwork and fees for that paperwork. Mael doesn't like that and says to just forget it. Under special requests, she wanted the choir to donate a performance, and at the end, they wanted to do some sort of parade. My dad said that they were all just sitting there shaking their heads at the ridiculousness of Emil. The fact that the party is supposed to happen supposedly the first week of August, with the address on the original invite being SIL's house address. So 200 plus people are going to go into a residential neighborhood with limited parking for a dorm shower. I'm sure it'll be as classy as they are. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Send them a list of all the money they owe you for your kids as family. Birthdays, sick days, first pubic hair, and every party they didn't bother attending, let alone pay for like a good family should. Make sure it's such a stupid amount they never ever want to speak to you again. OP. My oldest kid's first birthday. They forgot. On their second birthday, they forgot again and decided to go on a cruise. They're retired and have never gone on vacation during that time because it's a huge cultural holiday for them. Their ridiculousness and entitlement is something that was a constant source of conflict in my marriage. They seem to forget that my husband even has children. Commenter 2. Very doubtful anywhere near that number of people will show up. People, most people anyway, will be hugely turned off by the obvious money grab. It's glaringly pathetic. I have to ask. You don't have to answer. But is this in the US or is this some cultural expectation where everyone pitches in to support family? It's so mind-blowing, I'm just really curious. How does the kid feel about all this? I'd be humiliated if my family did this to me. Is she just going along with it? Can't wait for the update after the party if you find out what happened. OP. Definitely in the USA. Everyone immigrated here starting in the mid-1900s, but they held on to their culture tightly. My husband and I share the same faith, but we're from different cultures, speak different languages with similarities in food, cultural expectations, and traditions. The last time I saw the graduate was 9 years ago, and she was a horribly entitled child, or she was something. And I had to watch her closely because she would actively try and hurt my kids, like flip them off a hammock onto the concrete, pushing them down the stairs and pushing them underwater in a kiddie pool. Is it possible that she's changed? Sure. Is it probable? I don't think so. Commenter 3. Are there other grandkids, besides yours which clearly don't count, that they have tried to pull this crap for, or is this one a special flower? OP. At the time of no contact, there were a total of 4. 2 were SIL's and the other 2 mine. I know there are more. I'm guessing a total of 12, maybe 13, and I don't know the dynamics. We have gotten other requests in the mail, but we ignored those as well. Some being shredded without even being opened. OP on the family values from her in-laws. OP. They are just... When SIL had her second kid, we drove over 4 HRs through winter weather and construction to bring them gifts for the new baby. They insisted, and we felt obligated because it was for the baby. I would have preferred to wait until spring or summer. They accepted the gifts, pastries, flowers, and then acted like we were intruding. I literally had the kids get undressed, use the bathroom, say hi to the baby from afar, get redressed, and leave. We stayed for 45 minutes, and I'm being generous. Like, why? They value the gift, not the family. Commenter 4. What is the niece's part in all this? Willing participant or embarrassed? OP. I don't know her now, as a young adult, but she was a very entitled, horrible child. If I had to guess, willing participant. Commenter 5. Sounds like MIL is throwing a dorm shower scam circus and expecting everyone else to foot the bill. OP. That has been her MO for years. Siles Emil, so Sil's husband's mom, got burned by Mill at the big bridal shower and ended covering over half the cost of 400 plus guests when she only had under 20 guests. Emil tried pulling the same crap at the eye. Baby shower and Esiel's Mile didn't invite anyone and didn't show because she was sick. She did buy a ton off the baby registry that Esiel's husband brought to the shower. She just didn't want to deal with my Mil OP, and her husband don't need to contribute to the niece's dorm shower. OP, my husband received an actual picture of the graduate and a link to some fun fund, and then a separate invitation to the dorm shower. With them, it's an and, not or. We're going to contribute to them what they contributed to us. Nothing. Like, every time you think you've heard the last of these folks, they pop back up with a brand new circus act and a 6-figure price tag. The sheer gall it takes to demand $100,000 in a registry that looks like it was curated by a Kardashian? Woo. I gotta say, though, OP's strategy of total radio silence and creative call blocking is chef's kiss perfect. Starve the drama and watch it shrivel. Also, shout out to that church board for holding firm on the rules. Sometimes community gatekeeping is exactly what the doctor ordered. I'm honestly curious whether this dorm shower ever even happens, or if it fizzles out when the RSVPs don't roll in. Anyway, that's enough family-fueled chaos for one sitting. Alright, here's the next post. My 34 female partner, 34 male, of 15 years is blaming me for his ongoing depression because I play D&D online with headphones in. I've played D&D for years, one casual homebrew campaign and one recent Curse of Strahd campaign. My partner always said he wants lots of kids, and last year our first was born. I stopped playing until I wasn't breastfeeding anymore, then attempted to return to the homebrew game one Saturday a fortnight. While I was pregnant, he suddenly demanded to meet everyone I was playing with and see where we were playing. When I tried to return after giving birth, he resented me going to the game, would often try to delay me going, and would sometimes call and interrupt the game for minor issues. On the Saturdays, I did not play. I was in charge of baby's care and bedtime while he had drinks and games with his friends. The Strahd game started after baby was born and initially was played in our home, but became impossible for me to concentrate on the game with the baby around, so we moved to playing at a different house. He was still seemed to me leaving on time and would call and interrupt the game, even if baby was with a sitter. With COVID, I have been playing online, in a different room with my headphones in. Usually I arrange for the grandparents to have baby, because otherwise I still find myself interrupted too much to focus on the game. Max 5 hours. 2 weeks ago, the game was canceled, but the group still chatted. I had headphones and my partner kept trying to interrupt and ask me things, which splits my focus, so I was getting annoyed. Afterwards we talked about it, and he said that he doesn't like the headphones because it excludes him, it's making him chronically depressed, and that there's no point in him getting therapy for the depression if I'm going to keep doing the thing that causes it, which is isolating myself and putting in headphones to play D&D. The following week, I tried without headphones, but it is so hard for me to focus on the game, especially around him and baby, that I was brought to tears and we only played for 2 hours, but he was still unhappy about it. He says I need to adjust my standards about how I play, but I want to be able to focus and immerse properly in the game. I've already changed the hours that I play and tried without headphones, but it doesn't work. At the same time, he's been increasingly concerned about IT security, so I currently can't use my laptop. He reset my iPad and phone multiple times, and he wants me to get a new phone number. I've also, at his request, reduced my work hours, so I'm more available for baby, even though I had full-time work, and he is technically unemployed but trading crypto. I've changed what I can change for him, but I don't want to give up D&D or play in a less engaged way because I enjoy it so much and lean on it for my mental health. I want him to get therapy. But have I been the a-hole? Verdict, not the asshole. Here are some of OP's comments. OP added in the comments OP here. So, I have the opportunity to move into a house only 2 minutes drive from where my brother lives, which I'm going to do. I can take baby and the pets, but it's next month. That's also when my credit card is due for renewal, and the new one is going to be posted to my brother's house instead of me. I am setting that up to move out. I have tried to talk to my partner and present 2 options: get therapy or break up. He's taking it kind of weirdly, first morose, but now seems to think it will all blow over and we'll work it out on our own without a therapist. That will not happen. There have been multiple tries over the last 2 years. I'm going to let him calm down for the weekend because I'm hoping I can get an uninterrupted Curse of Strahd game in after this talking good leaving. But we'll see. Work knows what's happening. I've also emailed my partner's psychiatrist with details of his behavior, so if he won't go to therapy, at least somebody knows. I won't log in very often because of lack of opportunity, but I really think I am going to leave. Thank you so much to those that replied. I was trying to think of something I hadn't tried, some other way to play D&D and still keep him happy, but I shouldn't have been. You just start to doubt yourself when you've been stuck in the mists for a while. Here's an update that was made 2 months later on November 26, 2021. Hi folks, just wanted to offer you all a little update since so many of you offered the perspective on reality to get myself and my kid into a better place. So I gave my ex the ultimatum that either he and or we get therapy or we separate. And he chose no therapy because therapists always take one person's side, so I forced the separation. He moved out 6 weeks ago. I've been in my new home for a month, and it is like the fog has lifted. Life is basically better in every way. The more time I spend away from him, the better I feel. I'm back up to almost full-time hours, which suits me. Well, with a toddler, I have significantly more freedom, and I'm going to make our home beautiful for the two of us. Since the separation, some of the highlights of his behavior include not packing anything at all with almost a month's notice until the last 4 hours before he had to leave. When he came to visit our kid at my home, he already knew where I would be living. He wanted me to look up the closest train station, the bus route, and the direction for him instead of figuring that out on the 3-hour trip himself. Walked into my home like he owned the place, lay on my bed to pat the cat, raided my pantry, said he was going to take my remaining tea because I don't drink it, and he does. I said no, it's for guests. And after our child was in bed, offered to cook everyone, himself, myself, and my 3 friends serving as guardians, dinner out of my freezer and still-packed kitchen. I found a journal of his while I was packing his things. Turns out he did think I was having an affair at D&D. His reasoning was that I was always happy after a game, and he'd noticed changes in my appearance and behavior, which, for the record, he had requested I do a few weeks earlier. Also turns out his version of enough sex in a day is 3 to 5 encounters. He paid a junkie down the street for a blowjob when I was pregnant. He seems to have felt bad about that. At various points in our conversations, he has blamed me for trying too hard in the relationship, for misinterpreting his actions and words, even direct quotes, for not booking a therapist for him, and for not assuming the best of him anymore. The kiddo is doing great though. She hasn't actually noticed his absence at all and is having the best time in the new house. I'm also going to turn the dining room into a Dungeons & Dragons and dining room, because I can. So, thank you. I know a lot of you read these things just for entertainment, but seriously, thank you. Here are some comments. Commenter 1 Crumbs. I think if I had sex 3-5 times a day, I'd be broken inside a week. OP. That journal entry was from when I was pregnant too, and working full-time, and afflicted by morning sickness. It was an impossible expectation. When told to get checked for STDs, OP, don't worry, results. Came through Wednesday, all in the clear. Figured I deserved a small bit of luck on my run. Here's an update that was made 6 months later on May 8th, 2022. My D&D and dining room. Posted after our castle dinner with Strahd with my DM's permission. To add the wow effect, I'd upgraded the table between the previous game and this one to make it longer, allowing suddenly extra room, and changed all the chairs to high backs. The ravens and trees were added especially for the Barovian mood. And yes, we served garlic bread as part of the first course. That whole saga was a ride, right? Like, one moment it's just headphones and a dice bag, and the next you're packing up a toddler and plotting escape routes. Wild. It's honestly gut-wrenching how fast a partner's insecurity can morph into straight-up control, but seriously, kudos to OP for noticing the red flags and rolling for initiative. I'm low-key cheering that she got her own D&D and dining room. That's the kind of petty victory we all secretly crave. Also, 3 to 5 times a day? My dude, maybe invest in hobbies that don't involve, well, you know. Anyway, huge sigh of relief that little one's thriving and OP's getting those sweet Strahd sessions in without interruptions. Love a happy ending wrapped in garlic bread. All right, here's the next post. Anyway, that's enough Reddit and Minecraft for today. Make sure to like and hey, maybe watch this next video too. See ya.